thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark TV. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. You know what I like to do on the show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to get you fired up about our guest, Samson Young Abu. And his book today is The Student Exam Passport. Now, you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea because we are about to get started. Welcome, Samson. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. I'm so happy to be on your show today. So thank you for
I'm
having me.
so glad that you are able to make it, and I love it when we have international guests on as well as our domestic guests. So I'm really excited about talking to you today. Now, before
Yeah.
we get started about your book, there may be a few people out there that are unfamiliar with who you are or with your work. Can you let those people know? Kind of introduce yourself to them. What makes you you?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've been writing down for the last since 2017. So I was a student when I started writing, and that kind of inspired me to write. So my books are all based on inspiring people. So I write stories to actually inspire people, and to educate people as well. Why I do that, because I believe when we go through life as human, we should pass that on. And my aim is to actually is to reach a wide you know like a wide amount of people. So to actually do that, I felt like writing books is one way to actually express my experience as a person and as a student. So yeah, so I've been writing so my books actually range from poems. So I write poems as well, poems, educational book, children books. And one of the reasons why I also write children books is just because I feel like children should not be excluded from inspiration. We should kind of teach them. They should grow up being inspired. Become an inspiration to themselves, rather than just believing in Santa. Believing in, they should be able to believe in themselves. So that is one of the reasons why I decided to actually include children into my writing journey. I'm a law student. Or I did law, and I studied my masters as well. So in psychology, and that really helped me in my writing journey as well as a person. Because I actually learned a lot about how we grow, how the mind works, how the memory works, and then how we can how we can become who we want to be through the habits we actually we actually
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
And it's wonderful when you're able to walk in your purpose, walk in your path and that thing
Yeah,
that you feel
like,
that you have been purposed to do. And it just makes it so much more awesome to get out there and go to work. It's like you don't mind getting up, you don't mind making those sacrifices because you're doing what you believe that you have been purposed to do on earth. And I love that.
yeah.
Now, being an author, is that something that you have always wanted to do? Like in the back of your mind, did you want to do it as a young person, or did you find that um, God just kind of placed that along your path at this moment of now?
Yes, actually, it wasn't something that I've always wanted to do. So, because I grew up in Africa, so I went to school without chairs and table. We had no walls, which is all in my book as well. So my student book, it was all expressed. So for me, then I came over to live with my dad. So I came over to Germany to live with my dad. And the life, in Germany, the life in the UK is so much better than life in Africa. So, but I learned a lot through being, in, like through living in Africa and moving over. I learned the difference between to actually grow and being able to actually achieve a lot. So and it's not really the change of environment, which obviously it did have an impact,
Mhm.
but there is so much that we can gain from knowledge. So I was able to access all of that, by
Yeah.
being by being in a different environment where books were readily available for us. Whereas in Africa, we didn't have the books. We didn't have nothing. We had, there was hunger, there was poverty, but books that if we had, we could have, we would have been able to actually tap into this book and get the information we actually need. So yeah, so through my journey, after several years of living in Germany and then moving to like the UK, I developed as a person. I actually, like, I was able to acquire a lot through seeking education.
Hmm.
Um, so and that gave me the idea to actually put my experience in words, so I could impact other.
Smart, but that's
Yeah,
really smart because you never know how your story, how what you have gained is going to help that next student. Be it
exactly.
that it
Yeah,
is a student of African descent, or it's a student that may be even American born that's
yeah,
going to Germany that still needs to adjust to that culture shock. Because I think
exactly.
we forget that even though as Americans sometimes we have this attitude like the world revolves around us, it does not, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when we go someplace else, things are not always the same. Even if you're
Yeah.
around friends that happen to be, American, you're still in another country. So learning the do's and don'ts, the ways,
Hmm.
the things that you should and shouldn't do, and all of that, I think is amazing. So thank you for that tidbit of information.
You're
Now,
welcome.
when it comes to the ideal reader of your book, were you thinking that were you when you were writing it, were you thinking I really want to gear this towards students, or can anyone pick up a copy of the book?
All right. So this is the beauty of the book is that anyone can actually read it and anyone can actually gain from it because I wrote the book not just as a student. I wrote the book as as a person growing, evolving. As a as in I wrote the book as a man, or as a woman, as a person. So not just as a student, because the book has a lot to actually give in terms of how we live everyday life. So it speaks about the book speaks about um, management, you skills, and accountability. It actually speaks about like working hard as well and working smart.
Yeah.
Okay, these are applicable skills, are skills we need as people, in real life situations to actually get the most of every day and get the most of who we are meant to be. So, and when you spoke about, okay, was this a calling from God? After a while, while I started writing, I realized it actually was, because we all have a purpose in life, and it's just a matter of, I think, the moment you like start working towards something, you feel like you should do it, then the moment you actually grow into that, and God always have a plan for us, because when I was in Africa, I was always saying to myself, okay, why is this happening to me? Why is it happening to me? Why are we poor? Why are they rich? But when I got to level I am today, after I've actually written about 6 books already, so I've come to actually realize that we should stop asking ourselves why. We should start saying, okay, yeah, let's see what this lead me to,
What's
because
next? Yes, I love that.
yeah, God
I
always have a
love
plan for
that.
us. Realize that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Um,
Now, I think that
yeah.
is definitely something that's inspirational, and like you said, that's appropriate for anyone of any age. Stop,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't sit there and wallow in the mud. Don't get stuck, like in that pity party. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'll let you cry for 5 minutes, but then I need you to wipe those tears and let's get back to
Yeah.
business, right? Let's
Yeah.
make this happen. Because I
That is
mean,
it.
we're all human, so we're gonna have those moments where the tears are gonna come, or the woe is me is going to happen, sure,
Yeah.
because that's a
Yeah.
part of being human. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to reach that goal, you need to pick yourself back up and keep going and figure out, how do I get there? I love that. I absolutely love
Yeah.
that. Now, do you suggest that when reading your book that you read it from cover to cover, or can you simply pick it up and start reading at chapter next?
Okay, you can read whatever chapter you actually feel like you need at that moment, and this is the best part of it, because obviously, it has different sections, different chapter, and some of them are not just for students. So if you're not a student and you don't really want to, read like the student bit, just pick out the bits you feel like you're gonna need, you know what I mean? And obviously, and that is what makes the book so great. It also has it has a section, it has a chapter just for inspiration, just inspirational quotes. So you could just dive into that. It has a chapter about like I said earlier, memory. We all need to understand the basics of how memory works, why we forget and why we remember, and that is so so important, you know to everything we do. Because if we can understand how the brain works, in the most basic form, um, I feel like we can achieve more, because the brain is so adaptive. It's so, you can tweak it, you can do so much with your brain, and most people don't actually understand. They don't understand what they have in their head. That it is one of the most powerful parts of the human anatomy. And if we can understand how this work, and actually, how it operates, how we can influence our behavior through the habits, we actually decide to actually, you know, take upon ourselves, we can achieve much more in life, and yeah, and that is what the book is about. It's about making education go beyond grades, beyond jobs. There is so much we can learn through education, and that is what I intend to actually, give my readers through
Mm,
the book.
I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful. I mean, the fact that, and I've said kind of a version of that as well, is that we need to remember who we are, right? And people go, remember who you are. Like, I don't know who I am in the first place. But the thing is that you really do. When you sit down and you think about all of the knowledge that you've gained along the way, as long as you have been pursuing the goal of being your best self, as I say, right,
Yeah.
of achieving the best you that you can be, then you can remember in those moments where you're feeling down, or you might be lagging behind, or heaven forbid if you're comparing yourself to another person, right?
Yeah.
That is one of the worst things that we do. And
Yeah.
especially on social media, you're comparing yourself to that person with the X amount of followers, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, don't do that. Just remember who you are, because we all have been called to a different thing. We all have been purposed for a different thing. And I love that you that reminder. Now, I always like to ask that question for the person who says, yeah, 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 Dr. Angela, I hear what y'all are saying and the book sounds good, but you have a lot of authors on. What makes this book so special? What makes this book unique? So, for the person who says, why should I give your book a try? What's your answer to them?
Okay. My answer is, I mean, we live in a fast-paced world, and we live in a world that is just changing, and given the current situation, so we have to have a plan B. Plan B sounds bad, but we always have to have something that we can fall back to, and that is what an education gives us. That, because we are so used to the idea that we need to have money, we need to achieve money, we need to work. Okay, we are going to work for the rest of our lives. All right, so whether we go to school or not, we're going to end up working. But what education does, and what this book does, it actually gives you, it actually makes you understand, that you need education in this world. That without it, you're not going to get as far as you ought to get in life. You might have a purpose, you might have a goal, but if you don't appreciate education, you're not going to get further in life. So, and this book breaks education down to a level that no other book has been able to express education. Like it actually gives you, gives you an outlook on life through education. So it is so unique because it is not just informative, it is inspiring. And if you have information without inspiration, you defeat the point of knowledge. So, so there are like books out there who are quite, who are quite informative, which is quite good. But we live in a world where we are, where we are clouded by too much information that at the end of the day we don't feel motivated because there's what we should do, but there's not, okay, you can do it. You know, we have all these books telling us, what, you need to do this, you need to do that, but there's nothing telling us that, okay, you can do what we want you to do. So that is what my book, kind of pass on to its reader. It don't just, it gives you the information you actually want, but it gives you the inspiration to pursue the information you have been given.
I love that.
Uh,
And you're right. It really and truly is important because let's be honest. To be that you've gone to college or university or you're just a young adult, no one lecture, right? Those classes when you're sitting in and your professor is just lecturing, it's a
I
snooze
really like
fest. You don't like it, you don't
it.
want to do it because you don't want to have to pay that much attention. Let's just put that out there, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, no one wants to be lectured. So
Exactly.
you're right. You can be quite informative, but you need to be able to connect the why. So why
Exactly.
am I getting this information? You need to inspire me, motivate me to get going. And I think for our young people, they have to compete. Schooling, knowledge, information has to compete with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. I
Yeah,
mean, it has to, right? It has to compete with all of those things. And if you can't give it to them in a way that's inspirational, that's motivational, then I think you can have the best knowledge in the world. But it's going to be lost on certain people. Someone once said that the best way that you can share information is to speak the language of the person that you're talking to, right?
exactly. Yeah.
So as much as I may want to interview you, if all of a sudden you decided to answer my questions only in German, I'm not going to know all of what you're saying, right?
Right.
So it's like I may have caught a word or two, but it's like, no, but you're giving me nuggets of wisdom. So we have to make sure that we are speaking the knowledge of that person. I love that. And give them something that's inspirational and motivational. I love it.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information. A natural disaster may force you to evacuate, and the coronavirus could impact your emergency plans. So take steps now to help your family and community prepare. Keep a supply kit stocked with cloth face coverings, disinfecting supplies, and hand sanitizers. Check with local officials about what shelter spaces will be open during quarantine efforts. And remember to review the CDC's guidelines with the whole family. Disasters won't wait. Neither should you. Visit ready.gov/plan to make a plan today.
Have the past few weeks or months been challenging? Yes, for all of us. We've been thrown into circumstances which we could never have imagined. Loss of jobs, working from home, general uncertainty, all while dealing with COVID. It's causing us to be a little on edge. If you need someone to talk to, Dr. Angela Chester can help. Visit newlifepastoralcounseling.com to get started. We're in this together.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of young people, speaking of our next generation, no
Mhm.
matter what your age happens to be, because I like to call it the age of the auntie, right? I am a Gen Xer, so we are the ones who gave birth to the millennials or to the Gen Zers, right?
Mhm.
So, with that being said, no matter what generation you are in, what would you say to the people that are younger than you? That would be like your little cousins. How would you inspire them to keep wanting to go after that knowledge?
Okay. One of the best way, apart from reading my book, is that you have to believe in yourself. We all have something that we can give this world, and we're not just giving this world. We actually giving the next generation as well. Okay,
Absolutely.
so if it wasn't for the doctors and lawyers and everybody else will set us up, because there was actually a time where we had, okay, let's just say, okay, like imagine the 1918 Spanish flu, for an
Mm-hmm.
example. Okay, we needed doctors and scientists to actually figure out why these things happen. Okay, and those people, they had to be educated, you know, and they were able to figure out a cure or figure out a means of or figure
Mm-hmm.
out why it happened. Okay, if they weren't educated, we might not have been here today.
Yeah.
You know, and so this make education a very important aspect in the young people's life, because we have to breed more educated people,
Yeah.
you know just in case something happens along the way. We need to be able to find cures. We need to be able to actually find whys, because life is full of so many questions, and at times they actually come in the worst way ever. you know and we need to be able to find people that we can look up to for answers, and that's why we need people to be more educated, so they are ready for when the next question comes over, like the COVID-19. So
Yeah.
everybody are looking up to the science. This okay, why is this? What is this COVID-19 all about? So this kind of strengthens the significance of education. So the young people, for them to be prepared to extend the mortality rate in the next generation, they have to educate themselves, and you know, they have to understand how people were able to figure out how to improve the living standard of our generation. So he has to pass on, because without education, at some point, human existence is going to be
Mm-hmm.
extinct, because if if nobody decides to be educated today, you won't even know how to work out the equipment. This, so exactly, this are kind of like some basic example, but when we think deep into it, we actually realize why we need more educated young people.
No,
For,
you're
yeah,
absolutely right. And thank you for using that example of the 1918 flu. I mean, I don't
yeah,
like to necessarily call it the Spanish flu, even though I know that people do. I
yeah,
think people actually think that the Spanish started it. That has nothing to do with it. They were the ones who reported
yeah,
it. They are not the ones who it's kind of it kind of is misrepresented there. But with
yeah.
the 1918 flu, you're right. When we look historically at what's going on now and what went on then, they had a
Mm-hmm.
first wave just like we all had a first wave. They
Yeah.
didn't want to wear their mask or wash their hands and do those things, and they ended up with a second wave that killed more people than the
Mm-hmm.
first wave did.
Yeah.
And right now, that's what we're going through. The entire, the world is going through this resurgence. And it's
Mm-hmm.
true. We have to look at our past experiences and take that knowledge forward into the
That's
future.
right.
But we also have to gain a new sense of knowledge to move forward. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that I know that I really love about President Obama, now it's not necessarily politics or anything, not getting into that, but one of the things that I love is that he always says, I believe in the next generation. Our future is in the next generation. And of course, I don't really remember too many presidents saying that out loud and quite openly. But
Yeah.
I think that that inspires, it empowers the next generation to say, hey, that guy's important and he
Mhm.
believes in me, right?
Yeah.
So let's get going. Let's
Right.
move forward. So important. You are so right. We have to think outside of the box and
Yeah.
allow the next generation to challenge constructively
Mhm.
why we're still in the box. What if we went outside of the box? What
Definitely.
could we do? You are so right. You are so right. I talk about like even Elon Musk with SpaceX for us, or with the Tesla and all of that. It's like, think outside of that box. Go be your awesome self, you know? So I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Well,
Yeah.
I know that, Samson, you have definitely inspired people today. You have reminded them to remember who they are. And I absolutely love that you have done that. Now, before I let you go, though, I do want you to, if you could please, remind everyone the title of your book. Where can we get a copy? And of
Yeah.
course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Okay. Cool. Also, you can. This is this is a book. It's called the Same Exam Passports, and you can get it anywhere online. You can actually get it on Amazon. You can get it on WS Smith, Waterstone. You know, anywhere online actually.
Right.
And I think you can also get them in some bookstores at the moment. WS Smith, I think, and Waterstone as well. Yeah, so and you can reach me on my Instagram. It's samson.o.young. Yeah, and I've got some more books as well online. So if you're interested in kids book, or motivational books as well, you can have them. They're all available on Amazon. And
I love it.
yeah,
Thank you so much for spending time with me here on Daily Spark TV.
thank you very much, Dr. Angela. It's been a pleasure.
Welcome to Daily Spark TV. Are you an author with a faith-based book? Be a guest. Serious about your product or service and want to try something new? Sponsor an episode. I see you're ready to get started. So visit drangela.chester.com. Thanks again for watching Daily Spark TV.